Now here to discuss the rising conflict in the Middle East is the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra. Pete, it's great to have you back here on America's Forum.
Hey, thank you. Good to be with you, John.
All right, and we know Israel fell. Now here to discuss the rising conflict in the Middle East is the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra. Pete, it's great to have you back here on America's Forum.
Hey, thank you. Good to be with you, John.
All right, and we know Israel felt like they did not have an alternative here based on some of that amazing video. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Hamas put out video of them walking through those tunnels. But Israel's moving in here on the ground. What do you think is their short-term objective, and what do they need to get accomplished first?
Well, very clearly, their short-term objective is to stop the rockets and the missiles coming into Israel, to start wiping out the infrastructure. 24 months, that they're not going to wipe Hamas out. They just want to deliver them a stunning military setback.
And do you feel like the Israeli military, the IDF should really be in Gaza, or how long should they be in there? How long should this operation continue?
Oh, I think Israel has every right to go into Gaza. You've got these missiles coming down. I was on the northern border at one time when I saw a Katyusha rocket flying into Israel. Also visited some of the villages in towns in northern Israel that had been hit by those rockets. Israel has to do that. You can't be a small nation state like Israel, and as vulnerable as they are, and be in a position to have rockets coming in from three different sides of your country. So going into Gaza, eliminating or minimizing this threat is exactly what they need to be doing. How long are they going to be there? That becomes a tactical decision. In terms of how long does it take to destroy the infrastructure.
And it's not, in your opinion, that Israel wants to be there for a long period of time, a full reoccupation of Gaza?
I don't think so. I think tactical in terms of how long does it take to destroy the infrastructure.
And it's not, in your opinion, that Israel wants to be there for a long period of time, a full reoccupation of Gaza?
I don't think so. I think an occupation for them, that's the last thing they want to do. They want to go in, wipe out the infrastructure, come back to their more defendable borders, and hopefully teach Hamas a lesson. History will tell us that Hamas will come back. They will reconstitute themselves, and we may be seeing something like this again in 4 or 5 years.
President al-Sisi have taken a leading role here, but again, the negotiations are between the Israelis and the Palestinians. The problem here is Hamas. Is there anything to indicate to you, Pete, that there's anything different this time around, that the Palestinians can lean on Hamas to make these attacks stop?
I think what you're looking at here, John, is you're looking at what's different today is that you have, the fabric of the relationships there have been totally destroyed. The relationship between the U.S. and Egypt, when we supported the Muslim Brotherhood, has frayed that relationship. The relationship between President Obama and President Netanyahu, that is a frayed, if not a destroyed relationship. So the relationships that you need to get to and broker a solution, they're just not there to make anything happen and happen successfully.
And what's your level of confidence in al-Sisi now that he is the man in Egypt and the Egyptian people seem to be okay with a guy who might not have the popular support that Morsi once did, but a guy who can restore some order?
Oh, I've got a lot more confidence in Sisi than I did under, when the Muslim Brotherhood was in charge. We're as much as we want to admit it or not, we're moving back to the days of Mubarak. Sisi can get things done. The problem is he doesn't trust the United States.
And what would it take, in your opinion, to get al-Sisi to have, obviously...
Moving back to the days of Mubarak. Sisi can get things done. The problem is he doesn't trust the United States.
And what would it take, in your opinion, to get al-Sisi to have, obviously, since Hillary Clinton backed Mohammed Morsi and the Obama administration backed Morsi so roundly, what can be done over the next 2 years that might change that?
Well, we're going to have to reestablish those political ties. We've got to reestablish those military ties, although the military ties will stay because, those are long-term relationships between the U.S. Military folks and the Egyptian military folks. They come here every year for training and discussions and those types of things. What is going to turn their back on the Muslim Brotherhood and stand with, the organizations and the types of people that have supported us in the Middle East, supported our efforts in Iraq and Afghanistan and all. Those are all the things that Mubarak did. And the United States turned our backs on those folks. What Sisi now needs to see is that the U.S. is going back and will support their government, and we will have their back as they govern, as they try to take out Al-Qaeda and radical elements that established themselves in the Sinai Peninsula in that short period of time when Morsi was in power. They've got some internal problems. Their internal problems are a result of the lack of support from the United States. They now need to see that we will support them and they can take care of their internal problems as well as dealing with Gaza and building that fabric back with Israel. The lack of support from the United States, they now need to see that we will support them and they can take care of their internal problems as well as dealing with Gaza and building that fabric back with Israel.
All right, well, Pete, about a minute left to go. I do want to get your take real quickly on the situation in Ukraine. Whether Putin ordered this or not, apparently his fingerprints are on it in some way, shape, or form, just because we're looking at Russian surface-to-air missiles here. What do you think, how much trouble Putin is in here?
Oh, I think Putin is in enormous trouble, not because he ordered the shoot down of a passenger plane. I think what the strategy was, let's inflict pain on the Ukrainian military. Let's take into the arms of the rebels missiles, way too sophisticated. They should never have had this kind of technology.
Yes, and we often talk about the potential for miscalculations here, miscalculations, real lives on the line, and geopolitical implications as well. The former chairman of the House House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra, it's great to have you back with us here on the program. We'll check in with you more as this situation continues to develop. All right, there you have it from former Congressman and the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra. As Lisa Ruth said, former CIA officer. Vladimir Putin seems to be in a lot of trouble here. We're following this story as well as the latest developments in Gaza. More ahead here on America's Forum right after this.